Well, we wish Tommy the best wherever his journey may lead him, but for now, we got some more teams to figure out who's going to the Berlin Major. 2 down, 2 to go, 3 games to go to figure all that out. Welcome back to the NAL Desk. Doe, your host, here with Jesse and Jacob, and we are going to get started talking about Mirage versus DarkZero in a moment. But first, let's take a look at who's qualified and who's been eliminated so far today. Now, coming to today, we only had Oxygen qualified and Beast Coast and Mirage eliminated. Now we got a whole lot more to talk about.
Yeah, this is starting to fill out, Jacob. We've got more than half the teams figured, or we've got exactly half the teams figured out.
That is how math works.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You're usually the one that handles that, so I was surprised that you didn't know that 2 was half.
I wasn't going to touch it.
Well,
I'll make fun of him for it every time. It's easy to do. Sonics are back. And the prediction about one of the 2 teams that was top 6 at the 6th Invitational this year getting back to major competition after a very disastrous stage 1 has come true. Now, obviously, that's a bit of a lukewarm prediction. I accept that, but I'm happy that it still happened because guys like DarkZero and Yeti should not be kept away from major competition for all that long.
True enough.
The way that this match is going to shake up, though,
wow.
Parabellum
Look at that.
lost that match. They are Mirage's biggest fans right now. if Mirage are able to cap off this victory, then it means it takes DarkZero out of serious contention for like passing them in points because Parabellum still have a bit of a lead over DZ at the minute. So assuming Mirage can win here, Parabellum losing that last game might not matter for all that much, but it's still only about a 50-50 shot.
The entire league throwing their support behind Nightmare Nyx. They needed at least 6 rounds.
And Nyx we trust again, apparently.
Indeed, in Nyx we trust. That's what everybody's shouting out today. Everybody's odds improve if things go well for Mirage.
Yeah, DarkZero, though, as you can see, they need a regulation win to stay alive, and that won't even guarantee them a spot in Berlin.
No.
It just guarantees them a chance to wait and see if they qualify after that. So DarkZero, again, even if they win it, they're going to need some help from some of the other teams in the league. But like you said, with Parabellum especially, after losing that last one, they're cheering hard for Mirage. But we will see what happens. Let's talk about Mirage a little bit. Now, this is a team that Super just talked about being dangerous because they've got nothing to lose. I agree completely with that, and I even said it in the pre-show where when you get to a point with a team like Mirage, the pressure's off, right? You know you're not going to the major. You know you're going to finish last in the league. So you might as well have some fun, do the best you can, set the stage for some productive practice in the offseason. And again, a team with nothing to lose is a dangerous team.
Yeah, the gatekeepers. They beat out Sonics, they beat out Beast Coast. They're looking to do the same for DarkZero.
Yeah.
I think that so far, Mirage, their defenses are actually looking pretty solid against Auction and Beast Coast. The mental plays really worked. They got aggressive. They got some good, well-timed swings that managed to waste a lot of good time. Against Sonics, they really did feel in control for the majority of that game. Again, little bits of aggression, slowing down their opponents. That's what they can do decently on defense. Of course, still struggling on attack, still 10th in the league, but there are upsides for Mirage, and if they can continue that path, there's definitely a path to victory against DZ.
Problem for me is that this DarkZero team consistently finds themselves in really bad positions overall. They've taken some very hard losses, and I feel like this Mirage team is suddenly very capable of knocking off some of these big contenders, not just because they've already defeated 2 teams so far this stage, one of which is already qualified for Berlin, but the chance of gatekeeping a team like DarkZero that somehow feeling like they've gone back into some really weird old attacking habits feels like the kind of thing that Mirage absolutely can exploit because they are a better defensive team than a lot of people give them credit for, in spite of still having a whole bunch of attacking problems to sort out.
Now, I wanted to take a look at something because I found it very interesting. A lot of Mirage's games over the last 5 Playdays have been close. 7-5 over SSG, 7-5 against Oxygen, both of those losses, but close. 7-5 over Beast Coast, 7-5 the final game against Sonics as well. Their one match that they didn't have a good showing in at all was Parabellum, where they lost 7-1. And I had a little chat with Nyx over the weekend, and he said, I'm not making excuses, but we had to wake up way earlier for that Playday 7 game. And
oh, come on.
Comfortability is a big thing, and they do change their sleep schedules based on where they're at. 11 a.m. start against Parabellum, they get 1 round. All they need is a little coffee in their system. They need some time to wake up. Those 5 p.m. games have been going a lot better for Mirage than the early morning battles.
All the other ones are at 5 p.m. Let me check my clock real quick. It's 2 o'clock p.m., so it's 3 hours past, the 7-1 start time. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully more than like a 4-7, 3-7. I don't know. But
when that lines up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious though too. We were talking about this. Nix as well worked as an analyst for DarkZero during the Charlotte Majors. We look at these replays, like we remember how well things went for DarkZero at the Major. They won the whole thing. Do you think Nix has the inside line on what might work against this team now?
Maybe in a sense, but it is starting to feel like the way that DarkZero played at Charlotte was very like. Adaptory is not a word, but I want to make it one because it's
adaptable. How about
adaptable
that word?
around what teams were doing back at Charlotte, and Mirage now are looking at a DarkZero squad that isn't nearly as good on the attacking side of the ball. And the other difference here is that Nix was an analyst for DarkZero. He's not like coaching this team or anything, but the biggest problem that he talked about was how Mirage weren't calming in this game. They had terrible communication. They were allowing Parabellum to adapt around. This is specifically that game on Skyscraper in Playday 7. That kind of thing you need to be able to fix, but it's not something that you can put on the back of just one player. Nix might be able to inspire more like communication or more worthwhile things in comms. Maybe the strats, maybe the adaptation is something that he can prepare around for because he is familiar with how this DarkZero team plays, but he wasn't necessarily with them in Charlotte to a point where it could be a direct counter. He might have an idea about what some of those tendencies are and how to construct a counter for it, but if you're DarkZero on the opposite side, you gotta know Nix is here, so you can't do the same stuff you did at Charlotte that helped you win the Major. You just got to get through this game first and don't like feed into Nix's existing knowledge.
Very true. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the most adaptory team in the league, according to Jacob. I'm never going to let you forget that. Jacob said adaptory, and it was adorable. Let's talk about DarkZero. They did win the Charlotte Major. Now they got to beat Mirage for a chance at going to Berlin. They seem to like to do it at the last moment. You know, maybe this is going to be another one of those times. What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I mean, we'll see. So far, it's been a bit of a season of parity for DarkZero. Every week, they've gone 1-1, a win and a loss throughout the 4 weeks that we've had so far. They can't do that again this week because there's only one game. Luckily for them, it's against an opponent they have never lost to. This is their 5th time meeting, 4-game win streak for DarkZero, playing against the Canadian org of Mirage. I think when you talk about Nix being a bit of a factor on the other side, it's not just Nix that's figured out DZ. It seemed like at the start of the stage, it was every team that really did kind of read DarkZero at the Major, understand how they like to clear. They did some good roams to be able to counter it, and DarkZero's stellar attacking win rate that won them the Charlotte Major really started to drip. But through these last 3 games, I actually think the push has been looking a lot better. Against TSM, they were 4-0. They were roam clearing really perfectly. Canadian on the Zofia, NJR and the Lion had a huge amount of impact. Against Oxygen, they kind of got rolled, but they still went 2-2 on attack. They went slow. They gathered intel before they were going for their executes. It worked quite nicely. And then 3-3 on attack against XSET. Very multi-dimensional pushes, very coordinated. They were working really well. At some point, XSET did start to counter them, but we still saw DarkZero bouncing back and winning at least one more attacking round in that half. So for DZ, I'm looking at their attacks this game. I'm hoping that we can see that trend continue, where we're seeing them win the majority of at least 50% of their attacks. But of course, against Mirage, who are at least a little bit better on defense, that might be a bit of a struggle.
With the stage being so close between all these teams, you got to ask what could have gone differently over the course of a stage that wouldn't have made it nearly this close. And for me, it's the way that DarkZero have not been able to close out some of these matchups or have not been able to keep them close, because not a single game for DZ has gone to overtime. They're sitting at 12 points off the back of 4 regulation victories, and every other game has been a really big loss. It was 7-2 to SSG, 7-3 to the Sonics, 7-3 to OXG, 7-5 to Astralis. They couldn't finish any of those or really make those contests close to a point where it felt like they lost mental early and couldn't dig themselves back out of it. If that were to happen in this matchup, then Mirage would have the decided advantage because they don't have anything to lose. So DarkZero can't allow this game to run away from them very early. They need an early lead. I'd say something like a 2-1 or a 3-1 puts them in a much better position. Regardless of the map or the side that we go to, they have to get this momentum on their side first before they have any chance of getting that, 70% that they would need to try and qualify? Yeah, it's still not very high, but they can't get down on themselves early here.
That's right. Well, it's time to find out what the map bans are going to be. They have been decided, and so we're going to find out where the team is going to play. Saw Canadian his headband on. He's serious.
He's here for war.
Serious match.
Serious about banning the perma bans. Skyscraper and Chalet, both off the board. Neither of the teams like to play those maps, so there's no surprises to start off our map veto stage. Border coming in next, and Cafe. Border's won for DarkZero. They're going to ban against Mirage. They won it last stage against Beast Coast. They had a close-ish game against SSG as well, so it makes sense DZ want to take that out. They've lost a couple of times already in stage 2 on border as well. And then Villa Clubhouse. Villa's kind of an interesting one. DZ, 3-game losing streak on this map going back to the major, and then as well another game here in stage 2 that they ended up losing. And for Mirage, it's the game that they managed to beat Sonics on, so not going to have that chance again.
For the last 3 bans, DarkZero really hold the cards because one of Mirage's perma bans is still here, so it's a matter of if DarkZero banned it themselves is Bank. So if DZ banned Bank, Mirage have a little bit more of the picking, but DarkZero can just ban Theme to a point that it then forces Mirage to ban Bank, and we see our 3rd Oregon of the day. Our 3rd.
Happy Oregon Day.
Oregon for Mirage, 3-game losing streak, 0 wins this year, 7-2 to Astralis, 7-4 to Parabellum, 7-4 to TSM.
DarkZero have only played it once so far this stage. They've lost it, had a very abysmal attacking half, which is just kind of reminiscent of the way that they've played attack so far over the course of this whole year.
5 plays in stage 1, though.
5 plays in stage 1.
5 plays 3 and 2.
But yeah, that's still not as consistent of a stat as you'd want. If back at Charlotte, how did they do on this? They were 1-1. They didn't ban it very frequently, but it wasn't one they almost ever had to play.
Well, there you go. They got to play it today, and they got to play it well for a chance to get to Berlin. And now it's time to see what the predictions are going to be. Remember, we're kind of running out on time of predictions, too. Running out on time to tie things up, make progress. You can't gain and lose a lot of percentage right now, but it's all about the pride. It's all about
already
the
below
honor.
50, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Kind of just winning.
It's been a wild stage.
I didn't ask.
It's happened. Let's find out what our casters think first. We've got Pengu and Intero over at the casting desk. Good morning, or good afternoon. Well, it's Esports morning anyway.
Hello.
G'day. Yep.
Hip hip cheerio. You're back
I am back.
with a burn. Show the people your burn.
I got a nasty burn on my hand.
Wait, what happened?
I was
Ouch.
making tea.
Your hand. That's your
Sorry,
arm.
that's my arm.
You know what they say? You know they make jokes about
call
how,
it a different word
oh,
over
you
there.
know, I can cook, yeah, I can boil water. He evidently cannot even do that.
I did
Well, it
boil
looks
the
like
water,
he can.
but
Otherwise,
I
he
hurt
wouldn't have
myself in
burnt
the process.
himself.
Yeah, he learned how to boil the water.
It's simple.
The next step.
Kettle is here.
That was the problem.
Steam came up. I went over instead of around it. So I'm
steam
just a
burn.
dumbass.
I mean, you don't gain those
That is
skills
a-
when you're playing WoW for 16 hours a day, right, Nick?
That's true. When you play video games for too many hours at once, you kind of, some things
Hey,
you don't learn.
listen,
Fascinating.
Jacob, you play Star Wars The Old Republic for 16 hours a day.
This
So I
is
don't
very
think you have
true.
any ground to stand on.
And you
Good
think
game.
I know how
Good
to
game.
cook, Parker? The answer is I don't.
That's true. I know how to cook. It's called food delivery services. So there's
know
lots
those.
of them at your disposal. This matchup,
There
by
you
the
go.
way, I gotta say, I got a bad feeling about this.
I got a bad
feeling about this for DarkZero. I'm 0 for 2 on my predictions today. I thought TSM was going to win. They decided that 2 points over their last 5 games is more than enough, and that was it. I thought that Parabellum was going to surprise. Sonics decided to go to the major instead. Cool for them. I think that DarkZero is going to win, but I honestly think that Mirage might upset here. Like, this is, I don't think I've ever supported Mirage before. I'm not going to do it because I think DC is going to pull it out, but I think it's going to be close.
Okay.
All right.
So I think Mirage are a great team. That has improved a lot. They've gotten points on the board. There's potential there. You got Nightmare Nyx on the roster, of course, doing some stuff. But I'm also a simple man. And some people pay my salary, some people do not.
Oh,
It's
Christ.
a DarkZero victory. We're going to get that 70% chance at the major.
Hashtag no bias. Got
No
it.
bias.
Got it. All right.
Do you
Well, there
cast
you go.
every DZ match?
I think I've cast, like, every time I've been here.
Yeah, I think you've casted
It's been
every
a lot.
DZ match.
It's been a lot.
And they've been losing pretty much half the time, so it's
Well,
not
you-
looking too hot.
There you go. Bias only counts for so much.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. 2 DarkZero picks for our casters. We'll check back in with you guys in a moment when the map begins. Now, analysts, anyone want to take the spicy Mirage pick? Because it feels like it's tough, right? Because your head might say DarkZero with their backs against the wall. When everything's on the line, DarkZero is one of the best clutch teams in North America. That said, Mirage has been just like leaving cold bodies in their wake for a little while now, ever since they got eliminated from major contention, essentially. So who do you pick?
Jacob, I took Beast Coast. Do you want to take Mirage?
I'm thinking about it at this point.
take it.
See, this is one of those moments where I also wish for some games we had a points predictor so we could say how close it's going to be. And I keep on thinking in the back of my head, it'll be a DarkZero like 7-4 or 7-5 because I do have a lot of confidence in this Mirage team. But because my predictions are below 50% and I don't have a way to get it back out of the gutter, and I do think that Nyx has at least a little bit of an advantage because of how he was playing for that DarkZero team as an analyst. He wasn't playing, he was support staff. I'm doing it. I'm going Mirage. DarkZero just might get gatekept from the major if this prediction actually ends up coming true. So let's see. This might be the only time I ever pick Mirage for anything. And I think this is also because I want Parabellum to go to the major. Sure. And if for some reason Parabellum go to the major, it will probably be off the back of Mirage winning here. So.
I mean,
there you go.
I didn't think I'd be able to bait him to doing it, but I did. Listen, I know how to cook.
I was wondering.
And I also know how to predict. That's why I'm over 50%. I'm going DZ. This should be an easy one for them. They've never lost to Mirage. They're really good at this map, and Mirage aren't. Yeah, it should be simple.
He says he knows how to predict, but he picked Parabellum last game.
Okay, I got the Beast Coast skin. How many have Jacob gotten right so far today?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
How many has Coin gotten right today? 2. 2 matches, 2 correct predictions for the Coin. Let's see if he can make it 3 in a row. Heads, Mirage, tails, DZ. It's going to be, oh, the Coin says tails, DarkZero. There it is. All right,
I'll be the lone man. That's fine.
We will see. I mean, you might not be wrong. Again, I do believe that Mirage is a dangerous
where Twitter's
team.
about to go with this. Ready?
So it's possible. Let's see what the fan vote says. 77% going for DarkZero, we're told. So pretty one-sided fan vote, but hey, a lot of the pros out there, especially the pros on Parabellum, saying in Nyx we trust. We'll see if it's enough. Let's see what the community poll is for this time around. Which nickname do you prefer, Nightmare Nyx or Comedian?
Wasn't it originally Nightclub Nyx?
Was it?
I remember that being a variation.
Sounds like a different era. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will see if DarkZero can keep themselves alive at least in the hunt for a spot at Berlin, or if Mirage has another revenge to take on the team in the league. We'll be back in a few.
Talking yay, oh, been a living legend since I was like a day, oh, I remember days though, listening to J. Cole. I remember days though, listening to Drake though, had to up my profile, had to up my payroll, getting too high, yeah, you know I had to lay low, getting too fried, eating on some big dough, yeah, I came through, and you know I had to make do, yeah, I came through, and you know I had to make do, getting all these dollars, yeah, you know I had to make them, yeah, I came through, yeah, you know I had to make do. Beat by Apollo, stop at New Apollos, cop a Henny sour, and I'm puffing Jack Sour, yeah, I feel a black power, yeah, this time is really ours, it's time to get the bag, yeah, it's time to get the bag, yeah, yeah. Dollars coming, let me see it, multi-million, I'm a bid, on the mission, best believe it, ask for it, you receive it, dollars coming, let me see it, multi-million, I'm a bid, on the mission, best believe it, ask for it, you receive it.
I dip in the corner in something imported, I'm copping the land of the sand where the shore is beautiful women who time in the mirror to show up the shows and see me perform this. Used to ignore me, I'm all the day here, but I used to be timid. I don't know what fear is, just taught at my dog and he told me he got me. I hopped up the line and went straight to go get it, I got us. Building this up out of mortar and brick, the way that it's going, I don't see it ending. The pigment is tinted, I'm really that, go figure. I'm tapped into a higher power, feeling bigger than me, it's centering me. My enemies silent, they see that I'm fire, can't put my energy. I got some real ones on my sideline, abiding by them guidelines. I'm way up near the skyline. You so barely fine, right? Only kings around me, others go now why I shine bright. Yeah, you hella fine, right?
All right, everybody, welcome aboard for our third matchup of the day. We got Mirage looking to spoil DarkZero's chances at going to the Berlin Major. Now, this isn't that important a game for Mirage because they've been locked into the basement of the North American League. There's really nowhere they can go. There's no opportunity to pick up SI points. There's no opportunity for them to go to the Berlin Major. This is going to be them practicing with this roster, which has steadily improved over the stage.
Yeah. And cause an upset, or at least like kind of sway who gets to go to the major, who has a better chance at going to the major.
Very correct.
And it feels pretty good sometimes to be, having that power in your hand saying we can mess up this team's chances by beating them.
I mean, look at Beast Coast earlier today. TSM came into the day with a perfect opportunity to go to the major, but instead TSM is missing their second major in a row. They won SI, and they've been absent from both international competitions since. Well, I suppose technically absent from one, not absent from the other, because the Berlin Major hasn't happened just yet. I will say, I appreciate how everybody's in suits. This was something that you actually picked up on beforehand. When we were,
not everyone.
Well, I mean, Larch is in a suit. You can see him right there, fiddling with Marm's settings. You've got Christian behind the bench, a Mirage in a suit. You have Mint in a suit. Call Out, always in dress clothes you can find.
Absolutely.
And Joe used to be as
yeah.
well. But I gotta say, the suit then to the headset is a nice tie-in. I want to say that.
Certainly. It's not every day you see a guy in a suit wearing a gamer headset like that. But man, looking pretty fresh there. And DC getting ready to set up, see if they can bring it back. They've had a bit of a shaky stage 2. And so we can call me DC bias if you will, but I always believe that it's better to have the former major winner or tournament winner at the next event to like defend that title and build that kind of storyline than not to have them there. So I would like, as a fan, as a spectator, to see DarkZero have a chance for Berlin and go there to like possibly defend their title, whether it's going to be in the grand finals or a semifinal, whatever, wherever they might lose, maybe even in groups. I just think having them there would be very nice. It's kind of like invitationals. To like, if you win invitationals, you should go to the next one to like fight for that trophy. I feel like it'd be fair.
Now, coming into this matchup, there are 3 teams that are not capable of making the Berlin Major. One of them is on the stage. That's Mirage. TSM will also not be allowed to participate in the German event. Beast Coast eliminated last week along with Mirage. Well, they're all the way up in 5th place coming into this matchup because of their victory. This is after everything has been settled. This is what it looks like in terms of percentages, by the way. Earlier today, the Sonics defeating Parabellum allows the Sonics to go to Berlin. They join OXG. With a regulation win, DZ are not locked in because they, at this point, are not the masters of their own destiny. They're going to rely on some losses from other teams, Astralis in particular. They need to lose too. And of course, if you look over on the right-hand side of your screen, a regulation victory from DZ is the sounding of the death knell for Parabellum's chances. They would fall to only 5%. Still possible, but we're at the stage, with this being the final Playday, Nick, that you no longer get to determine if you go. You have to hope that your opponents give you a helping hand.
Yeah, this is like possibly the worst position to be in because you gotta play your game, do your best, and again, even if you win, you gotta sit there and just watch other teams control your destiny. And it's not even like the teams will necessarily choose like, oh, we don't want DarkZero to go. It's more like they gotta play it out, and at best, you're looking at a 50-50 outcome, and it sucks to be there.
It really, really does. And I mean, you can play a spoiler. Beast Coast did that earlier today against TSM. This was a largely meaningless match for the Berlin Major for Beast Coast, but of course it helps their chances in the NAL, and they pick up some very critical SI points. Sitting right now, like I said, in 5th place. Will Beast Coast finish in 5th place today? Well, they've got XSET, DarkZero, and Space Station all beneath them in the standings. If any of those teams, or every one of those teams rather, win, those are 3 big points, Beast Coast will fall back down to 8th. But that's enough speculation for now because we got a match ready for you. Mirage have been heating up over the last couple weeks. If you go all the way back to last Playday, they toppled the Sonics 7-5. They got smoked in Playday 7, but they beat Beast Coast 7-5 on Playday 6. So of the last 3 Playdays, Mirage has a grand total of 6 of a potential 9 points, which is not too bad. As I pointed out, over the last 5 Playdays, TSM has 2 points. That is not ideal. That is not going to be enough to get it done. On the other side of the equation, it's DarkZero, the defending Charlotte Major champions. They want to go back to another major to defend their crown, and they've got a team that is often slept on.
Yeah.
Here in the NAL, who is continuously improving. Banzer and Nick, Nook, Finka, Kaid, and Valkyrie.
I like the finger ban because there was this discussion on Twitter between kind of like Newers and Spoitberg guy both like kind of talking about it, where some people are saying like if you ban the finger in the NAL, then half the players will just like outright retire because there's such crutch players in this operator. I do like to see finger being banned out more in North America because in Europe this has been an operator that's been banned more and more as time has progressed.
Almost 50% ban in Europe, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, 44% last I checked. It might have gone up since then, but yeah, close to 50%. Very true. And Mirage now banning it against DarkZero. I mean, that's a Penbepazoo kind of target ban. But the one thing here to note is that Mirage are starting on the attacking side. So obviously they can prepare for this, and they most likely have. They said, you know what, we're going to start attack. We're going to remove the finger. We're confident in our own capabilities of getting those rounds on the board. And then when DarkZero got a swap after round 6, we're just going to, you know, hope and pray that this finger ban is going to affect DarkZero, and therefore we can get some easier rounds on the defensive half.
It's our 3rd Oregon of the day. I hope you enjoy this map. I do find it funny that when everything is on the line, teams default
to Oregon.
which used to be the one map that we would always say is where good teams go to die.
Yeah.
So it is a bit surprising. If you are the scrappy underdog, which I think is the case with Mirage in this matchup, then yeah, you're going to want to go here. Ditto with Beast Coast all the way back in matchup number 1, so it'll obviously benefit them. As this round gets underway, 30 seconds in, NJR sustaining some damage. The Azami on roam over by Small Tower. A bit of damage done to Kento. Canadian fires back. He's been on the roam and so reliable for DarkZero. Opens things up by taking out Nyx.
So like those keeper barriers in that bottom white window, allowing Hyper to get more of an angle to rotate around. And opening kill, of course, going in favor of DarkZero is going to slow down the attack inside. I'm curious how Mirage now are going to injury towards this building, because as you see, there are not really any drones right now going out. We got to take a step back, re-drone everything. There's rotates, angles, lines of sight, soft walls. And right now, if you're working with no information, it's so hard to get a foothold somewhere. Benji, thankfully, finds a kill onto Pambasu. That's Wamaya off the board. And he didn't get all these magnets out either. So now the bomb set is a little bit weaker.
Yeah, we're not even at the halfway point. When you see an operator like Azami, when you see an operator like Wamai, Legion, their gadgets take time for you to get all of them available. Recharge or just charge in general. Losing those magnets with no backup from DarkZero either. There's no other anti-gadget operator on defense. Nice shot from Melted. Absolutely rocks Canadian. That's the roam from DZ that's been shut down for the most part. NJR might still be off site, but other than that, DZ had kept a lot of map control that they've now obviously relinquished, and they trail in numbers with just a little over a minute for Mirage to pull off and execute.
Yeah, now Mirage, the most important thing is not to isolate yourself into those 1 versus 1s, because you want to try and leverage your man advantage here. Put 2 guns against 1 defender, trade that gunfight 1 for 1, you're still looking at 3 versus 2. You're still in the lead. With 3 members in blue area right now, that looks to be the case that Mirage will try and capitalize on, because they're putting so many guns in one position. They cleared the shield, they just got to deal with this Banshee on that double door from Melusi, then they can go.
Hyper actually has access to the SMG instead of the shotgun, so that's a lot more damage that can be done. First one to fall is Kento from this push from Mirage. Melted has made it in safely. The rest of his team not too far off, sacrificing Marm for Melted to get the refrag onto Hyper. He's inches away from the bomb chassis. Eclipse will swing, not really connected to the overall push, but Mirage have some control of the site as DZ has forced their way back. The remnants of NJR still holding off, and he'll take out a second and a third to follow, but Melted is just simply better in this round. 3 kills, setting up a 1v1 with him and Eclipse. 10 seconds to go. Eclipse has the shotgun in hand. Unless Melted gets a nice shot here. No, it's Eclipse to seal the deal and give DZ the very first round.
That's an important round too, because it was a bit of a back and forth, right? DC got the opening kill, but Mirage, they found 2 kills back to back, made that a 4 versus 3 in their favor. But that blue push was actually disjointed very nicely from that toxic bait being tossed out from DarkZero from Eclipse. It basically split up their roster. Sure, Melted got in, but the 2 other members of Mirage had to walk out of blue, and it just bought so much time for them. And of course, Jacob and Jesse kind of spoke about this on the analyst desk. NJR in these final couple of play days for DarkZero has been such a massive player for them. And in that first opening round that we just saw, same story. Gets 2 kills, holds the bomb site, delays time, and he only had 1 HP when he did it. Even those impact grenades he tossed out on the keeper barrier did so much damage to both members of Mirage. It set Eclipse up for a nice position, when it came down to that 1 versus 1, which then Eclipse would win out for his team as well. So good job, NJR. DC gets the first round, and round 2 is going to take us to Kid Storm's bomb site upstairs.
10 seconds left.
Default site goes in favor of the defense. Second default site on the board. The only anti-gadget operator being brought by DarkZero this time, Zaruni.
Yeah.
No Wamai available. Jaeger's pick rate has been in the basement among these operators because of the changes to his gun, and it is actually quite striking how Yeah, the gadget, the ADS, changed now. So instead of just burning two grenades, 2 throwables, whatever, for a total of 6, it now recharges after 10 seconds, giving you near unlimited potential. But it's the gun that's really been the major change. And speaking of guns, MP5 in the hand of Canadian as a grenade sails over top. Another nade goes in. This is a Candela this time to flash him. I don't know how he got blinded sitting behind that barrier, but another piece of utility will go in. Does it buy Canadian enough time to get down and get out of action? He's repositioned in a nice little rat angle, and Benji could go for the swing, still suspecting him in this position. Another nade goes in. Nobody's droning this out. What is going on here? Benji doesn't have access to a drone at all. Kento still does, but it's not him throwing the nades, it's Nyx. And there's Canadian to swing on to Benji, down he goes. Poor droning from Mirage. They get flustered by the captain of DZ, and yet again, DarkZero starts off another round with a first blood.
It's a very tough one. Like, there is this saying that there are like mini games inside of Rainbow Six Siege, and this is one of those. And sure, Pamus was injured, might get helped up. We'll have to find out. Nope, he's going to be out for the taken here as Melted finds him with his 4th kill. But I mean, all of a sudden, they're firing up from Mirage.
And there's 4 kills in very, very short time. We hit the halfway point of the round. Just as they did on the basement defense, DarkZero have extended upstairs to Mess Hall Cafeteria. And they find themselves at a disadvantage, as now NJR's down for the count. So Mirage's entry proving very successful. This is playing out similarly to what we saw in the previous round, where DarkZero loses their forces off site, and they have to now bunker down. The good thing is that this top floor defense allows you to hold the position even at a disadvantage and still be in a strong spot, because there's a lot of walls you can't shoot through, a lot of reinforcements that you have to cut through. I don't know if Mirage have the tools to do that right now. They still got both of their Osa shields, so Marm can do some serious damage here on this hard breacherless attack. A minute to go for Mirage to pull it off.
In a great position here, but they gotta once again find that entry in towards the bomb site. That's where they struggled the last time. They have the tools for it, right? 2 grenades on Kento, smoke on Marm, and those Osa shields. They just gotta pick where they want to go from and then go there together. Again, more guns in one direction is going to favor the team with more people alive. That's Mirage.
And there's a smoke that goes off. Both smokes now tossed out from Marm. None available. Hyper swings. Easily collects Kento. Canadian on top of white stairs. That's an iconic spot for him. But he misses out before finally getting Nyx. DZ at a disadvantage yet against it. Still flourishing. Now leaving Marm to clutch out in a 1v2. A tiny bit of HP for Canadian and a decent rifle in the hands of Marm. But no, nothing to be found. Hyper shuts them down. The 2v3 for DZ becomes a 2v0. And they're up 2-0 here against Mirage.
I want to say, I mean, with how rough that beginning first minute or so was for Mirage, it was a very close one, but there are these mini-game scenarios inside the game we have to talk about, right? When we talk about Consulate, which of course no longer is in the professional map pool, but still in ranked and whatnot, you know, taking yellow stairs control in a top floor attack is this whole mini execute you gotta, pretty much do cleanly to successfully get in. Big tower attack for a roam clear on a Kidstorm defense that we just saw, where Canadian was in big tower, same story. It's a mini execute. If you know how to do it correctly and do it cleanly, you can essentially take out Canadian, get a free kill in less than a minute. However, if you don't cover all your bases and you don't get enough manpower to help you clear out that position, as we just saw, Canadian forced out 3 Candelas and 2 grenades, and even got a kill onto Yang before then got him shot down to low HP later on. But ideally at this level of play, you don't want to see teams not being able to clear big towers successfully, and it ultimately came down to Mirage only having 2 members on the big tower side on the north side of the map, where you need at least 3, if not possibly 4, to drone out while you throw those grenades, know where Canadian is, open up more windows and assert more pressure. That's where we can look back on that round and be like, that's what went wrong. For this one, tertiary defense, as we say, the 3rd bomb site is going to be that meeting kitchen, not dining kitchen. And DC are again spreading out, extending, playing rather aggressive with rotations and soft walls, trying to pretty much leverage the entirety of the map.
Well, after talking about how Jaeger's pick rate has slowed down a little bit in comparison to games before, Pambazu will bring out the anti-gadget operator. That means through these 3 rounds, DarkZero have rotated from Womai to Aruni, now to Jaeger, showing good flexibility. It's been different players playing off of it too. You remember that it was the Womai, I believe, of Pambazu before, but then Hyper was running Aruni the previous round. Again, heavy investment offsite from DarkZero. This time, because they're defending on the main floor, a lot of the focus will be on the top floor, which is very common. You want to hold the double dorms portion of this map, because if you allow a soft breacher on attack to set up there, it effectively forces every defender on the bomb sites out of their position and gives so much control to the attackers so quickly.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, just swinging down the main stairs there.
Oh! At the same time! What a beautiful shot onto the door. Pambazu finds 2 for his troubles, still in that position, and denying you the ability to talk about the strategy behind DZ's roam.
Doesn't need strategy, just needs to hit some heads here. Babasu just does just that. Now it's melted for Mirage, having to desperately look for a kill here, an opportunity. Kento, same story, because the entirety of this round strategically for Mirage, it's in the gutter. It's over. So now we're just walking in, trying to make up some damage here. It's not going to get found out. Canadian gets the 1 kill, and now Kento Marm in a 2v5. Gotta make something work.
Well, Marm finally shoots back on that engagement, finds her very first kill. 3 rounds in, not exactly dire straits at this point. Marm and Kento working together. Kento a kill of his own. Down goes Canadian. DZ perilously close to tying in numbers as Hyper takes some damage too. Mirage have a minute to work with. They seem to find themselves with just half of the lobby left. And Kento can nail Panbazoo quite easily. Continue onwards towards the hatch. DZ in trouble, but they know this spot. They know it quite well. They've been at a disadvantage for so long on these rounds. A drop and Hyper hears it, the gun goes off, and that's just poor planning from Kento as Hyper swings for a second, but Marm is better. Luckily, NJR is there for cleanup, and DZ completes the cycle. They're up 3-0.
This is extremely consistent, right? DC typically looks better in the first half of the round, first minute and 30 seconds. But then when we get to like the last half of the round, it's completely swapped on its head, because that 2v5 came down to a 1 versus 1 effectively. Although DC, they were in a good position to trade, and JR followed up immediately, so Marm had to do like a very big flick to try and contest that angle. But still, DC needs to clean up the later half, and Mirage, opposite, gotta clean up that early round, because they're finding themselves so close to every single one of these 3 rounds, but because of how poor start they have, well, they just can't quite get there. And that's going to force out a tactical timeout from the side of Mirage. They can talk about what's going on and why we have yet to get around on the board, and perhaps, hopefully, talk about that, the entry in that first minute.
I mean, some of the entries are not that bad, and I will say that DZ's Rome has not really been what saved their bacon. It's been the final 40 seconds of the round for DarkZero, because they were outnumbered in round number 1, still prevailed. They were outnumbered in round number 2, still prevailed. That one was a lot closer, and I will say that the Rome for DZ looked okay. I mean, DZ did get the opening pick in the first 2 rounds, but then Mirage were able to answer back, and through that mid-round exceeded, I think, most of their expectations. It was the mid to closing moments of the round that really undid whatever chances they had of making it work. This one
that's close.
Is very close. And I mean, it's a funny question. Which nickname do you prefer, Nightmare Nix or Comedian for Canadian? 49% of you said Nix, 51% for Troy Comedian. So.
I kind of like Big Bad Nadian more. That's
Big Bad Nadian is a great one. And I also will say, I understand that for sake of clarity, we had to stop this from happening. But at the old LAN events, when a player would have a bad game, and then the very next day their name would be Super something, Super Liven, Super Astro, because they want to avenge their bad performance. I always like that. It did make spectating them, and in terms of identification, a lot harder. Clarity is important, but I always enjoyed that, even if we don't do it anymore.
It's always fun to meme around with it, but then some players don't take it too far. They'll just change their names completely. But Big Bad Nadian is that's a classic.
That is really classic, and I mean it's been featured in casting before.
Yeah. I like the effort there from the flourish of Nyx. It went all the way around the bomb set because there's a jammer inside of blue itself where Eclipse is sitting. So he has to try and go all the way there, and he goes pillars instead because he just can't really find what he's looking for in that deployable shield.
No, I mean that's 3 of the Rotero drones that have been used. 1 to success, the other 2 not exactly as beneficial for Mirage as they could have been.
Nope.
We still got the deployable shield, which Eclipse has decided to vacate. He's pushed up very aggressively, and if he comes to a reflex test against Nyx, who is 0-3 here on attack, the shotgun ain't gonna reach that far, my friend. Nyx, the only person in the lobby still searching for a kill at this point. Not exactly the danger zone, but 4 rounds in, especially with the role that Nyx plays, you'd expect him to be a little bit better than 0-3.
You would. You saw that air jab there. Actually, Canadian, if he was a second later, might not have heard it, so he could have messed himself up with the vault prompt, but no, he hears it, sees it, runs away, does have that 1 impact within his pocket, could deny it, open up another line of sight, but now DC knows the Mirage are inside of meeting, and we can see here that Canadian, he kind of wants to contest, but he doesn't want to get too aggressive on this.
Just hold map control.
Yeah.
It's been a very quick round. We're already past the halfway point. No action up till now. Control of the main floor, or at least the meeting component, is in the hands of Mirage, but Canadian is still there, still lurking, still roaming, looming, I think you could say. I suspect that Mirage knows this, but Mirage's drone work has not been particularly proficient. Down goes Nyx. It's another first blood for DZ. They have all 4 so far in this matchup, but just like that, Mirage starts to dominate the kill feed, answered back. NJR still holding over towards Pillar on low HP yet again. Finally finished off by Benji on the ground. It's a 2v2. DZ not taking any damage. Beautiful shot by Eclipse around the bomb chassis. Marm will have to clutch out for her team. After the slow start, she's up to a 3-3 score line. Will need a 5-3 score line if she wants the W. But there's a perfect crossfire. Nice shot by Mirage! Oh! And Marm gets them both! The crossfire looked so good, but DZ asleep at the wheel and easily done for Marm as she punishes them both to give Mirage their first round.
I was going to say that looked like a perfect crossover from DarkZero, but Marm instantaneously gets the one-shot headshot and then backs to her right just like 2 steps. And those 2 steps, they make all the difference because Eclipse, he's got that SMG-11, he pre-fires his entire magazine, and because of those 2 steps to Marm's right, she avoids majority of the damage. She has 1 HP left, gets the 180-degree flick, and then lands her last remaining shots onto Eclipse and gets the round from Mirage. 1-3 now, still in favor of DarkZero on the defensive side. And remember, Mirage, they did ban out the finger. They might be playing the long game here off the side swap when they get to their own defenses. So we can look at this being like, DarkZero, they need as many defensive wins as possible because Mirage, they are favoring that, you know, DC will struggle on their attack inside. DC is going to go back to basement. They figured that what they were doing last round worked, and arguably it did. Marm just a little bit better in that round and clutched it out this time around. We'll see what will happen this time instead.
Marma's ice in her veins, I gotta say. She doesn't seem to get tilted. She doesn't really let emotion overrun her at any point like a lot of these other players in a variety of our leagues do. When you're in a clutch position like that and you are facing the daunting task of both players looking at you, the idea is that you can't pull off a 180 to kill the player behind you while you kill the first one, but the jiggle peek, very quick peek onto the freezer door, allowed that extra second for her to then pivot towards the last player of Eclipse by the bomb chassis. So very, very well played by Marm, but also a little bit of a hand up from DZ for not being as prepared for it as they could have been.
We'll see here, intrigue going on. Mirage, they realize that DarkZero, they're very passive on the bomb side, so look at the time right now. 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and Kento's walking down the freezer stairs, has a drone to lead him as well, and they have full map control in the first 30 to 45 seconds. That is a really fast pace.
And they've done it with every drone still available as well. This has been the major problem for a number of these rounds for Mirage. They've had some difficulty getting information and then acting upon it. And this has actually been a refrain through some of the games that we've seen today, especially that TSM game where drones would go in, they'd get shot, and there'd be no follow-up. If you're at least going to use that drone, you might as well have somebody backing it up to try to capitalize. But Mirage looked to be quite quick on this one. Maybe head into the bomb site with 1.5 minutes to go as they've done their due diligence on the first floor. Looks like most of the silhouettes, if actually all of the silhouettes from DarkZero, are on this bunker basement style of defense. No real roam presence for DZ. That is a bit abnormal compared to their previous 2 defenses of this bomb site.
And also because they only really have like 1 deployable shield and no mirrors, so this is not really favored for them. And even worse, there's a Ying on the board, and sure, Hyber's on the ward and he can see through the smokes and the flashbangs, but no other member of DarkZero really can. So Benji, of course, is a very important player in this round, and he's going to be the one to like execute and allow Mirage to go crazy and get chaotic on the bomb side in just a few seconds.
Still good drone work from Mirage with 1 minute to go. They've got 6 drones out on the field in position, and we got to see one of the cheeky drone angles. Utility now coming out from DarkZero. That's a toxic canister from Eclipse. Used, 50 seconds to go with 2 left. Means that there will be some time where DarkZero does not have the ability to throw down any of that toxic gas. Depending, of course, on how they play the time here. Benji poised inside a meeting with candelas in hands. They could burst through the B bomb site door as quickly as they can. There they go, blinding and flashing from below. DZ repositioning to try and avoid the paralyzing effects. Down by Laundry, Canadian spies 1 over towards Freezer, can't capitalize. Benji the first kill, Marma follow-up. Pambazoo answers back, and suddenly DZ are narrowing these numbers down, but Mirage still has some fight left in them as Kento punishes Eclipse. Nade in hand, 15 seconds to go, and there's still 5 players left in this server. This is going to get real messy. Mirage need to be super quick about this. With Pambazoo is the last one left to clutch out. He's got a single player left to be found, and it's Nyx with no kills to his name. Diffuser getting planted. Time pass, no return. Pambazoo just needs to get a single pick, and there it is. DarkZero have no problem stopping it. Pambazoo wins the 1v2. to give DarkZero a round back after surrendering round number 4 to Mirage.
I do want to applaud Mirage there because Melted on that backside of Big Tower Stairs with 14 seconds left in the round starts droning. And I thought for a second, there is no time left in the world for you to drone right now. But he got the drone down the staircase. He saw the member inside a blue double door. He then walked down and got the kill, put his team in that 1 versus 3 situation. But then we all saw what happened. It's Panda party time. He got the win time and time again in those 1v1s. And he kind of slow start. He was 0-2 or 0-3. He's now finding himself 5-4. And people always complain about Jaeger's weapon. The 416 is so weak, but in the right hands, it can still do some damage. Up close, of course, as well, when the recoil isn't an issue. It can do just that. There we see once again the qualifying probabilities between Mirage and DarkZero. And there are a lot of zeros here.
I mean, you don't need to be a mathematician to understand this one. DZ wins. They have a very good shot of making it. They've got a 3 1/4 chance. I think that's how math works. If they don't win in regulation, they're in bad shape.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
And by bad shape, I mean they don't make it.
Yeah.
But you're trying to downplay it a little bit.
And Mirage, they're not going to make it at all. It doesn't matter what happens here, except for, like, you know, their own egos, performance improvement, etc. They might have a chance. No, I don't think they have a chance for SI points either, right? They're, like, locked in.
The bottom 2 teams, as far as I'm aware, do not get SI points. By the way, Pambazoo, nicely done. Very first pick. On to Kento. Kento has been one of the standout performers for Mirage so far this stage. Plucked up from obscurity, some would say, if you don't follow the amateur leagues. Joins the Mirage roster, and honestly, not doing a bad job. Hey, Nyx breaks the streak. The goose egg that he had is gone. It's hatched. And that's the very first kill for Nyx. Will there be more for it? Canadian pushes him. Nyx is repositioned over towards Armory Stairs. Canadian can hold down that quite easily, as there's a hail of gunfire going in, and then a sea of drones as well inside of the bedroom. Again, have to compliment Mirage's drone work so far for how well they are going onto those drones and getting information. DZ are constantly repositioning because of it.
I do agree. Their drone work has been very, very nice so far, but the opening kills right now with the aggression DarkZero just goes their favor. Nyx solo and HP might have a hard time with this gunfight.
Look at that. There's 3 separate drones that have been trying to chase down Canadian. 1 from inside of Master, 2 from the top of Armory, and yet Canadian manages to get away with it. Nyx as well gets away alive, so that's a big win for him. But DZ have Master. They look towards Trophy. They've got control over there as well. X-Kairos coming in from Marm, unsure of where they were going. It looks like, yep, it was onto the wall leading into games. Eclipse has a shotgun out. This is a deadly recipe for whoever shows up. But he gives himself away a little bit early on. Now flashed out. Nobody there to help him. But look at Mirage. They don't decide to take the engagement. Nyx does, and through the wall doesn't spy Hyper inside of Attic. And that was a bait for Mirage, who now find themselves at a disadvantage.
I like these crosshays from DarkZero, basically enabling every single member so somebody else assist them if somebody were to push up. And we see it now as well with Eclipse closing the closet wall. He too has help. And now Benji and Mirage, they're going to go downstairs instead, look for a different approach, because they recognize that with the attic wall being opened up and that closet having a rotation, there's too much aggression on that side. It's too hard to deal with. And well, now we just see them walking into bomb site. It's all free.
And Melted knows there's one there, but Hyper is now dropped, holding this area. You thought it might be a Dorm's defense from how the investment upstairs was, but no. You would be confused. Just back over towards meeting, and the main floor is the scene of the crime as Mirage are being murdered, and it's DZ wanted for it. Marm again in a must-clutch situation for her team in a 1v3. DZ have often trailed, but this time the numbers benefit them. Leaving Marm inside of the bomb site with the diffuser, but not much to do as there's just too many players from DZ above and in front of her. She's finished off. That first half is a commanding 5-1 for DZ, and there's no timeout for Mirage. They've used it all the way back. The tail end of round number 3. This team could be in free fall, and there's nothing to stop them, Nick.
Something I would like to see, and like I saw G2 did this in the EUL, is when you go to the side swap, you take a timeout immediately, despite whether you're 5-1 or 1-5, just to discuss what you want to do on your attack inside. Now, I think this is mostly a good idea when the operator bans are super funky, and you're like, how do we attack this? And I don't think the finger ban is going to make DarkZero go, what do we do now, guys? It's just get Pambasua, get your finger play on a different operator, different gun, you'll be good to go. Sure, you lose 2 grenades and a gun 6 every single round, so either you pick a grenade operator or you just change things up. Right now, Panda is showing the buck. You can get the flashbangs, the secondary heartbeat sketch, and of course, soft destruction, verticality, and a great weapon. So I don't think this is a cry for help where like they should take a timeout and discuss what to do. But if you ever find yourself in a position where you are curious, I do think that it's a great position to do that. Interesting roam game from Mirage here. We got the Bandit being brought out. That is a very, very, very rare operator on Oregon itself, especially on the basement bomb side of all places. We see the freezer hatch, or server hatch, the freezer is soft, meeting hatch is opened up. So again, very big emphasis on aggression and roam style from the defending team. It's also why you see Melted on the Asami, who can use that gadget to keep it barriers, to deny lines of sight and keep buying time for the defenders, because you want to try and, you know, burn down that clock and kill as many drones as possible.
We'll see if DZ's drone work can measure up to what we saw at Mirage in the first half. Despite this lopsided scoreline, there were some good things that we did see from Mirage. Their mid-round was almost always quite strong, and that was because of the drone work that they were able to do. Gathering intel on DZ, who routinely switched up the way that they were holding this map. And of course, that's some credit to DarkZero as well, Nick, because you've got a DZ team that would extend quite heavily off the site. And just like Benji extended quite heavily off the site, but gets punished for it, not exactly the entry for, or not exactly the start to this round for Mirage they wanted. Excellent entry by DarkZero. They continue this trend of getting the first blood. They've only sacrificed a single player at the start of the round one time through these 7 rounds. That's an impressive stat. Another's lined up now for Panbazoo. Jackal tracks going in, and he out-duels Marm. That was the only positive player in terms of KD on Mirage. Panbazoo shows that, hey, I don't need Finka. I can still make this work on the buck. Now down goes Kento. Nick, I hope you don't want to talk much during this round because the action's staggered as it is. Puts us at half of the round with DZ in a 5v2, looking to move to match point.
I do want to commend Mirage for roaming and playing aggressively into DarkZero, but there's not really a whole lot of crossfires being established. Right? DarkZero finding isolated 1v1s, they're winning those, and you're being chased on the staircase by a GMNI clone, by the way, Melted. That was not a real player.
Hyper broke double digits with that pick, by the way. Panbazoo is closing in on it as well. A very different story on the other side of the stage in Vegas, as nobody on Mirage is positive. You've got Marm and Melted both at 6-6, and that's as close as it's going to get. For every team in the NAL who's not DarkZero, you want to hashtag in Knicks We Trust because you need DZ to lose to open the opportunities for XSET and Space Station, Astralis, and Parabellum to go as well, because if DZ wins here, it's very close to a certainty that they will go to the major, meaning that there's a single spot remaining for PB, Astralis, XSET, and Space Station, and victory looks all but assured for DarkZero as they get a flawless round to move to match point.
Yep, very decisive round. That's a roam game for Mirage not working out. DC finding every single 1v1 imaginable and just steamrolling through it. Having the Sledge, the Bug, and the Jackal available when you're DC on attack on Oregon is really good for you because any soft wall will be dealt with, any verticality, and of course, when you got the Jackal enabled, you can find those feet and figure out the positions of the roamers. Panbazoo had that information for 2 of those 3 kills that he got because of that Jackal track. So now we're at match point. Now it's backs against the wall, and that means Mirage got to get 5 rounds in a row to take us to OT, or DarkZero will win if they do not. And they're going to go upstairs on the Kidstorm's basement, or Kidstorm's bomb site, rather, to try and see if this is where they can find success. So let's look at the attacker repick situation right now, right? Jackal for the roam game is being swapped onto a Twitch for now because you're no longer on that basement bomb site. You're not going to isolate members the same way. Then you go from Bok to Iana because you want those grenades, that soft destruction, verticality, etc. Because grenades are so much more lethal than blocking somebody from below, and it's quicker and easier to do. And then you go from Hibana to Ace because again, you don't got to deal with 20 billion hatches. You just got to deal with a single wall, usually inside that master bedroom closet. So DarkZero changing essentially 4 operators for this specific attack showcases just how prepared they were for the basement and what big of a backup plan they had in case it wasn't basement any longer. Mirage in similar fashion are going to extend down below 3 members and try once again and contest the entry points from small tower, but Melted in showers, Kento inside of dining, and DC, they have spawned there as well, so they'll likely challenge.
Simply put, as much as you might trust in Nyx, I fear that in this matchup in particular, your trust might be a bit misplaced. Nyx having a very poor game at possibly the worst time for this team if they want to play spoiler. I mean, and that's the only reason why. This is an utterly meaningless game for Mirage. A victory here in regulation does not move them into 9th place. They will finish in 10th. irrespective, or as Jacob would like to say, irregardless of what ends up happening, you can't get any SI points in the 10th spot of NAL. So really, this is just for stat padding and to try to sort out issues with the team.
Yeah.
Not that I want to tell you that this game is meaningless for Mirage, but there really isn't a lot that they're playing for here other than to be a spoiler for DarkZero. That's the only thing that this would impact. So either way, not exactly the stage for Nyx that I'm sure he envisioned. Despite having some very strong games, this is certainly not one of them.
No, it's not. There's still rounds to go, of course, but... And I do think Mirage wants to win here. I do think they want to put in their all because, again, you gotta get experience where you can. There's no better place to get experience than in an actual competitive Pro League match. It beats scrimming and practicing any day of the week. So, of course, Mirage, they're looking for the future, whereas DarkZero, they're looking for the present right here in this round on match point.
I've never played Rainbow Six at a professional level. You have, but every player that I've spoken with says that scrims are but a poor substitute for game day reps, and getting in actual matches is invaluable for some of these teams, especially a team like Mirage that is still finding their footing. And despite a very poor beginning to stage number 2 that could have been hindered a little bit by the issues that they were having battling COVID and having to play a number of their first matches online, this is a team that has definitely settled in. This is a bad performance for them. And I mean, while I've seen some promising things as the stage has gone on, keep in mind we are not that far removed from their 7-1 loss to Parabellum. So there are still issues that need to be worked on, and this is as good a time to do it as any. A very slow round, by the way, as now Panbazoo is taken down. Canadian technically credited with the very first kill. One for Hyper as well, a second for Canadian. This could be flawless. No, Hyper's finished off. Panbazoo's still bleeding out, and Benji firing away from inside of Attic continues to keep things close, as now Canadian is the next to go for DZ. And JR will have to hop on in. Eclipse on the window. Both players very vulnerable, but one inside of Attic is spotted out as Eclipse will now need to rotate with only a tiny time amount of left. Panbazoo bleeding, can't really give much intel. NJR dives on in, Panbazoo finished off. Nice swing from Mirage as Kento picks up 2 kills to clean out the trash, giving Mirage their second round and denying an end to this matchup for DZ.
Very slow round there as well. Not really a whole lot of things happen. A bit of a whiff C4 from that bottom armory stairs. I saw that in the basement. That was going towards the wrong location, not the master bedroom floor itself, but we're not going to talk about that too much. We're still facing down the long end of a barrel here because there's a lot of rounds to go, and all DC needs is one round from Mirage that messes up, or they're forced onto a tertiary bomb site because they played basement, then they went upstairs to Kid Storms, as we just saw, and now they're going back to basement again. If Mirage wins this round, they're locked out of the 2 good bomb sites. They gotta go to a tertiary bomb site. If they don't win this round, well, then the game is over. Very straightforward. And now we can again look at the opponent lineup, and what do you know? DarkZero, they're bringing out the Jackal. They're keeping the Hibana, and Panbazoo is back on the block, because we said about earlier, this is a position where it's all about the roam game from Mirage, is what you're assuming to begin with. And once you see the lineup, when the drones come out, we see 1 shield on the Smoke, 1 shield on the Ella, as well as those Grismot mines and the Goyo. This kind of speaks to a more passive approach, or at the very least, once we get to the bomb site, we gotta deal with all that utility. It's why Canadian is going from Dokkaebi onto the Flores to kind of make the bomb site easier to deal with, but the roam game a little bit harder because you don't get those phone calls. So a pretty balanced situation for DC to match that quite a pretty balanced defending setup where that's both aggressive and passive for Mirage. Both teams doing a pretty good job, but one Vulcan canister seems to have been popped by accident.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake, and honestly, not in and of itself a huge deal, but if you want to deny a push in a freezer, especially if there's a late push that comes in, that canister is integral for holding them off. That now means there's a part of the map that DZ can take rather effortlessly and quite quickly without fearing any damage or even alerting the rest of the defense too. So a small issue, but that could be the first proverbial domino to fall for Mirage if things do go south.
I do agree, and the thing about Rainbow Six Siege at a professional level, the higher level you play at, the details, they start mattering more and more, right? One wasted flashbang means 1 less ADS you can burn, and 1 less Midas you can burn, etc. So all these teeny tiny details that are so like nitpicky, they really do play an effect and a factor in most of these rounds. So when we get later on, we can maybe look at that freezer position again and say, would that, Vulcan canister have made a difference? We'll find out in about a minute from now, because DC are going through this map storming. 1 minute 40, hatches getting opened up. Big tower wall, now that tower staircase push-up opened up. And at about a minute 30 left to go, we're looking at a pretty good pace.
Well, Mirage have once again flourished in the later portions of the round on defense, but That was a single round. Just one. Hard for Mirage's best asset, I would say, which was their drone work, as we've talked about so much so far, to really be that prevalent when they're on defense, because they don't have access to drones unless they play a Mozzie or an Echo.
Technically Echo, yeah.
I mean, there are options here, but there's certainly none on the board. DZ have decided that a change is needed, and they've assembled 3 players over now by Blue. One of those Goyo canisters has been popped as well in front of Nyx as he guards the shield by elbow, the common spot for a smoke to play off of. Nyx still has access to all 3 of those toxic canisters, and if he wants to get aggressive, can push out. The first canister goes off onto the doorway of Blue. Canadian stunned out. Melted, takes a lot of damage, but suddenly Mirage collapses on these DZ players. DZ go for broke. They lose 3 bodies. First to go down is Nyx, a second to follow as NJR cleans up. He's got the B bomb site in his sights. Pambazoo not too far off. Those are the only 2 players from DZ, and they'll have to make some serious noise. Mirage, very patient with the final 20 seconds left. Backing away from the B bomb site. Kento right now sitting inside of the supply closet. Pambazoo with diffuser in hand, getting it down, falls off, fearing a push up. NJR gives his position away as Mirage are just playing this clock, and DZ have to have something go. Only 5 seconds left, and kills are what's on the menu. NJR finds one, but it's a total walkout for Mirage, as it's a defensive-sided Oregon that is now benefiting the Canadian org. They pick their 2nd round in a row, and again prevent DZ from closing out this matchup.
No thinking, no win. That's what I'm seeing right now. So maybe the finger ban we do put some people in retirement here, because DC cannot find their 2nd and only needed attacking round so far. That was the 3rd attacking round, so we haven't gone through that many scenarios yet. And this is the scenario that I spoke about earlier. What happens when Mirage are forced onto a tertiary bomb site? Well, that's what's going to happen right now, right? Meeting Kitchen. Arguably, one of the 2 weakest bomb sites, together with Kitchen Dining, and this is where Mirage really need to get their W on defense to then reset the board for the bomb site rotation so they can go upstairs, then downstairs, then overtime. So this right here is arguably the most crucial round in this matchup that Mirage would need to win to have the best statistical chance at actually getting the victory.
Well, this is where things are going to get a little messy for Mirage. Not to break the hopes of the fans and all ye faithful who are watching this, but the tertiary bomb site for Oregon does tend to be where teams drop the ball, just simply based on win percentages.
Yeah.
We've only seen 3 bomb sites get brought out so far. It's been the 2 staples up on the top floor of dorms and then down below on laundry. That's very typical. But we also see this meeting kitchen defense. They're foregoing the meeting or the dining and kitchen defenses, instead going with what is safer, and I think a lot of teams are more comfortable on. Win rates be damned at this point.
Yeah.
When you're a team like Mirage, you've obviously got some form of strategy as to how you pick these bomb sites, and they will hang their hat on meeting kitchen. If things fall apart, that's it. That's the ball game. They don't have any window of opportunity to come back as DZ sit on match point.
That they do. Canadian doing some flexing here, now on the Iana, so they want more soft destruction, but still gonna keep, or rather grenades rather, but they want to keep Pambazoo on Buck because he's been finding a lot of success on that operator. And it's going to be a slow round, I think. Just look at the current pace of things. DC have droned out the small tower side of things. They got figured out. Now they've rotated all the way around to the armory side where we saw 3 members of them just waiting around, waiting for those drones to like leapfrog their way up so they can start advancing. Mirage, of course, have extended 1 floor up above the bomb sites because, as you mentioned earlier, Parker, if you give up this space you see right now where Benji's playing, well, then the soft destruction of NGR and Sledge and Pambazoo and Buck will just completely destroy all that soft floor below them, and the bombs have become so weak. So now they're trying to defend. DC are going to try and attack, but look at this. 2 members of DarkZero are inside a small tower. They're going to basically pinch Melted in this position, and he's going to be stuck.
Melted bought himself some time, but not enough time as Hyper is on the case. Down he goes, DZ opening things up. Mirage are able to push this just to the 6 rounds. That's it for DarkZero because it means overtime is the case, and DZ cannot make it to Berlin through overtime. So that's what things get a little bit dicey for them. A nice nitro cell from below takes out NJR, but Benji was there as well just in case. Marm credited with the kill, continuing to bolster her numbers as she has been an invaluable part of this team so far this stage. Mirage have now fallen off that top floor very quickly. A minute to go, and DZ are circling the wagons, closing in, slowly crushing Mirage. Is now the next one to fall is Benji. A 4v3 with 45 seconds left. DZ's hopes of going to Berlin on the line right now. Out goes a smoke to give some covering fire for Hyper. Eclipse with diffuser in hand, getting planted. A nice nade from Canadian. Takes out Kento. Down goes Marm. Canadian doing the work himself. And Pamazoo takes out Nightmare Nyx. As you can see, there's a bit of relief washing across the face of the DZ members. It got a little scary for 2 rounds there, but the best chance that DZ has to go to Berlin still exists. They pick up the 3 points with their 7-3 victory over Mirage. And the dream is not dead yet, my friends. They will be very anxiously watching the last 2 matches of the day to see if they will be given an opportunity to repeat as major champions, not something that no team in Rainbow Six has ever done.
True. If you just count majors, yeah.
Just
actually,
count the majors.
True.
That is correct.
Yeah.
UNSI back-to-back, but I mean, technically, while that is a quote-unquote major, it's not the same thing. It's a
We
major
also
event.
won Invite and Paris major back-to-back, but again, if you just isolate the major events, you're correct. No one has actually won
That's
a
correct, because the
back-to-back
Paris major was the first major, the second major was the Raleigh major,
Yeah.
and while you made it to the finals, you
We
weren't
didn't win.
successful against
No.
Empire.
That's true.
I mean, it was honestly that's the end of it for Mirage this stage. Ditto with DZ. We might see DZ in action in about a month's time in Berlin, as we talked about. For Mirage, they've got about, well, we don't know when we come back, but probably about 2 months or so to work through this lineup and maybe make some changes if needed. Either way, that's it for us. Match 3 in the books. We got a break ready for you, and then we'll come back with more of the North American League.
Slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, 12 can't really stop, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot. In the yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting with the old well, need 100 milli on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing kush clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Can I got you feeling wavy? Way too early to be hazy. Start a 10 job cause you crazy. Yeah, you back in the game and you don't feel ashamed. Always want
Hey, we're back here at the Rainbow Six North American League. Doey, your host, here with Jacob and Jesse, and DarkZero getting the job done. Now, it doesn't mean just yet that they're going to the Berlin Major, but it does mean that they're at least still in the conversation. They got the win in regulation. Looked pretty convincing over Mirage, didn't it?
Yeah, and the odds are pretty good for them. Over 50%, about 75 around there. So they're looking decent. They do need to continue watching the games today, and for the DZ fans, we'll break things down for you in the pre-games of those matches. But right now, DarkZero, a clean win over Mirage, kind of expected. There is always the danger for an upset, but that defensive half, very, very nice from them, and with it, they secure themselves 3 points.
I mean, it's very contingent on whether XSET were to get a win over OXG today, and if it happens in regulation or not. And then it matters about the round count from the Astralis and SSG games. So both of these last games are going to determine whether DarkZero is going to Berlin in the first place, or if they still have a couple of things that they have to worry about. So nice win. This was the expected result. I am not trolling with my prediction in the slightest from today, but I will say, if you're DarkZero, you're going to be sweating a little bit watching these last two games.
Absolutely. Well, we've got Pambazoo standing by in Las Vegas to chat with us a little bit about that win. So, Pambazoo, it was Pamba party time a little bit today. You got the win over Mirage. You know, when you play against a team like that has nothing to lose in a clutch match, how much additional pressure is there where, you know, this team that has nothing to lose is a little bit scarier than playing against a team that maybe has, you know, still major hopes on the line?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little scary, but having someone like Troy, like, before every single match, he kind of tells us what to expect, and we all expected Mirage to kind of get crazy, you know, like you said, they have nothing to lose, so I say we were very prepared. Like, we just had to expect everything they could do, no matter how dumb it could be, but yeah.
All right.
We're prepared.
Pamba, I want to ask you about something that the community's been talking about a little bit. Today, Mirage banned your Finka, and, you know, people have talked about Finka as perhaps a crutch operator. You know, other people have defended the Finka mains of the NAL, saying they can play anything as one of the best Finkas in the world. What are your thoughts on the topic, and how do you feel it affects both yourself and the other Finka players in the league right now?
I think it goes without saying that Finka is easily the best attacker. I mean, I think she's obviously broken. She needs a nerf, but I wouldn't say she's as big as a crutch as many people say. Like, I think she just makes the good players even better. Like, she won't make someone like horrible actually good. It just helps. Like, if you're good, you're good. It just makes it easier.
Pamba, I'm counting a whole bunch of rounds in this game where you were able to get the opening kill and then kind of spiral that into multiple kills back to back to back. Why were you able to walk over Mirage so effectively, even despite having the Finka ban against you today?
I don't really know how to answer that. I don't know. I'm just confident. Like, I think I've proved myself that I don't need Finka. I mean, she's literally been banned against me countless times, and I've won every single game. So, I don't know.
So one last question for you before we let you go here. Now, you got the job done, right? DarkZero needed to win in regulation to stay in the conversation and go to the Berlin Major. Obviously, things aren't totally decided yet. No doubt you're going to be watching the next couple games. My question is, where do you watch? Where do you settle down, make yourself comfortable? Do you order some food? Like, how do you prepare yourself to get through these next couple matches?
Well, after matches, usually most of us as a team, we just chill in like the practice room and we watch the games together. We order food. Probably gonna do that again. It's just, you know, is what it is.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting with us. Good luck in the next couple rounds, I guess. Hopefully we'll see you get through to Berlin. If not, we'll see you in stage 3. And either way, great performance this stage on individual level. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Yep. Goodbye.
He might be going to Germany. He just might be.
Maybe. Pambazoo. A man of few words, a man of effective words as well, and a man of effective gun skills on the map today. A 7-3 victory for DarkZero. Like we said, they needed to win in regulation. They did that. Now we got to wait to see if the stars align the rest of the way to send them to the major.
Those 4 opening picks from Pamba, huge. A lot of them coming on defense, right? He was able to make a lot of nice little plays pushing forward, whether it was on the Jaeger or other aggressive defensive operators. Well, Miles played a couple of times as Zami. I did love how he was able to consistently get a little aggressive there, you know? Depending on the bomb site, it was a different position from him. Sometimes he was walking down the main stairs to try to challenge it on a lobby. He had a nice clutch in there as well on defense. So I thought he had a great game. I'm glad we got to talk to him today. Hyper, his partner in crime there, the aggressive players on DZ, also having a great game. 12-6, 2.0 KD. Can't be mad at that.
I mean, yeah, Pamba was doing it on attack too, because the one time that he plays and gets the opening pick, he's playing Buck, and he walks in, kills one player, walks into kitchen, kills another, and it just feels like it spirals out of control for Mirage there, like at that point. And I do agree, it's nice seeing Hyper have a really good game, because I think technically of all of the Finka players that exist in the NAL, Pamba is one of them. Hyper was like the lowest rated Finka player of anybody in the league coming into today. Obviously that stat can't go up because Finka wasn't played, but Hyper's performance has kind of been called into question somewhat, and it's nice that there is a little bit of stabilization from this DarkZero team. They now sit at 15 points. They're confident mostly that they're going to be qualifying for the upcoming major. It's just a matter of these last couple of results that are going to shift the paradigm.
True enough. Well, let's check out how the standings have moved because of that last match. Now, that does propel DarkZero up to 3rd place, but again, they might not stay there. It depends on the results of our next couple matches, our final 2 matches of Stage 2. It's wild, actually, that we have 2 spots yet to decide for the major out of North America, and it's going to come down to our last 2 games. It's going to be crazy, right? I mean, you've still got a couple teams in the conversation. You've got Xset, Space Station even has a chance from way down there. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Technically, Parabellum's not out of the race themselves.
Totally.
But that's such a minuscule chance at this point.
I think it's about 5%.
It hurts pretty
I don't
bad.
even know what specific things need to happen for them to qualify either, is more the thing. They need Xset to not win. That's the big one, so I'll have to wait for next match to find that one out, because if they win in regulation, they automatically qualify. But it's like DarkZero still might be going. It just might be a matter of time for the rest of the day.
We'll have to wait and see. But for now, we're going to take a look at a couple rounds specifically from that last game. The first one we're going to look at is the first round, round number 1. And this was just a nice Eclipse 1v1. I feel like we don't get to talk about Eclipse on an individual level enough.
This is such a sick play, because watch when Eclipse actually starts shooting. Melta's got the LMG. He's going to pre-fire this swing. He knows about where Eclipse is, but he's slightly aiming off the head of Eclipse. He's slightly on the wall, and Eclipse presses his mouse 1. He shoots as soon as he hears the pre-fire. He doesn't see the player on the screen yet. He doesn't have the angle, but he hears the pre-fire, knows he's got to get that shot out before the swing comes around, because he's going to get blown up if he doesn't. That was a really nice little 1v1 from Eclipse, and managed to start them off nice. DZ's a team that always lose the opening round. Don't forget. And Eclipse stealing it back for DarkZero this time.
It's true. That kind of thing is what I talked about. I talked about them setting a tone early, and they did. If you win a clutch in the very first round, you run the risk of it being like, well, we can't win clutches every round, because that's a little unrealistic, but they still got the thing that I think helped set the tone for the whole rest of the game, and Mirage just didn't have a comeback from that point.
It's a confidence round at the end of the day, Another thing that's going to give you a little bit of confidence are clutch 1v2s, which is exactly what Panbazoo did in round number 5, and we'll check out exactly how that happened.
This was a round that was really good for trades, I think, from both teams. I was really impressed with Mirage, how they were able to trade things out back and forth. You watch a couple of players going down. Benji dies, Marm dies, but then we see the kill onto Eclipse, manages to get a good little frag there, makes it a 3v2, especially right here. Nyx and Kento over in Freezer. They're going to be trying to push on in. One player backstairs as well, tower stairs. That's melted. See that kill? Immediately Hyper gets traded out. This is great. Pamba gets a kill, but there's no trade because Nyx has gone the opposite side of the map. He's going for the plant. He's trying to play for the objective, which is not inherently wrong, but if he had been there to trade out and kill Pambazoo, that would have been so much more effective. They might have been able to win that round. Unfortunate play from him, and nice 1v2 from Pamba.
It's a bit of mistiming. You think that your IGL is going to be able to be there in the thick of things with you to hold those cross angles, and suddenly the one time he's not there is the one time you lose. Maybe in a moment where Mirage could have shifted the momentum back a little bit. If that plant goes down or it has adequate coverage or something, if they win that round, maybe the DarkZero don't win nearly as dominantly as they did, but it's just that kind of weird decision making. Hey, he was Nightmare Nyx last week. Here, I don't even know of a different word to describe to put in front of his name now. It's a nowhere Nyx might work out here.
Nighty-night Nyx, because he seems to be sleeping. I don't know. That's what I saw. You call him like you see him. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the pressure is on for Xset. They're playing against Oxygen, a team that is already locked in for Berlin. So, playing for seeding on the Oxygen side, Xset fighting for survival. Let's see if they can get it done when we return in just a few on the Rainbow Six North American League.